Imanu, Hashem should be with us like He was with our forefathers. May He not leave us or abandon us. And the Rebbe explains, so the first Maamer wasn't based on the Maamer of the Rebbe. First Maamer was that defiant Sikha. This is now based on the Maamer, which was said a few years previous. So he said the Maamer in the footnote tells us Tafresh Samach Beis, 1932. But the Yotzel Oed B'Tfus B'Shnas Tafshin Yud was only published, as many of his Maamorim, in
Samach Beis is 1902.
No, Tzadik Beis.
Oh, Tzadik Beis. I'm sorry.
Samach Beis would be the Rebbe Rashad. 1932, the Frierdiker Rebbe, yeah. The Yotzel Oed B'Tfus B'Shnas Tafshin Yud, and like many of his Maamorim, they're only published in the year Shnasa Istalkos, the year of his passing. Maamorim that he had said were published only later in Kontreisim. They came out in a whole series of Kontreisim, Tafshin Yud. And then later, they tell us in the footnote, subsequently published they gathered all the Maamorim of that year, of 1932, and published them on the separate cover. So, but that came later, after this Maamer of 1964. In 1964, it only appeared in Tafshin Yud. Shnasa Istalkos, the year of the Istalkos, is significant. Why, I don't know, but it's significant, which is why they was making the point. It was published in the year of the Istalkos, even though it was said earlier. The obvious point I think that Rebbe is saying is, yeah, maybe this one too. No, you got it. Maybe the point that he's saying is that he's definitely hinting to this. The fact that it's published after the Istalkos is indicative of the nitzchias, the hashgacha pratis, of the continuation of his nesius, of his chassidus. At any rate, so what does he ask in that Maamer? You have to understand, what's the request of the Elokenu, Hashem should be with us? It's very general, generic. What is it meant by it? Another question. These are not the shilas of the previous Maamer. So there's a request. And it's a prayer, it's a tefillah. The Eibusher should be with us. So so the avodah of tefillah affects that. So if you're asking Hashem should be with us, then that's the consequence. In Cain, what's added? Do not leave us, do not abandon us. The mashim is the inference is that even though you have the of God is with us, that Hashem is with us. He could still abandon and leave us. How is it possible? He's with us and abandoning us simultaneously. That's the inference here. Because Yas Hashem for be with us, accomplished. And in addition to that, don't forsake us. What if he's with us? He's not forsaking us. But the inference is that the two separate things. For the Zoyis, the Eibusher can be Imanu, but it's still missing the Azveinu and the Yichenu, leaving and abandonment. So I love in Ma'an, what is this Yazveinu and Yichenu that needs to be requested over and above being Imanu with us? We're clear? The shilas. Okay, let's repeat the shilas. Anybody? First one. Very simple question, general question. What is exactly meant by God of what? Hashem should be with us. What exactly is that request? And then the next question is,
if he's a mother, then what's Yazveinu by Yichenu?
Yeah, okay. And explains in the Maamer, and footnote 4 tells us the end of the Maamer. Our forefathers in Chacham was we're familiar with that from Tanya. that Chachma is father, the Nekuda, the seed, and Bina is mother, Bina that develops the idea, develops the truth. Moishe, and he adds the words shebenefesh, that avisenu, because we could possibly refer to Chachma Bina of Atzilus, the Maila. So he says it means avisenu, our forefathers, means of our neshama, of our nefesh. So we're getting a whole new insight here that Elokenu Imanu avisenu means our own personal Chachma Bina of our own nefesh. To explain, Moishe Levaye, and he goes on to explain the Fidik Rebbe, Sheina Kavan Chachma Bina Shabam Avedis Vigias Adam. We don't speak about the Chachma Bina that happens through a person's Aveda. What are we talking about? Chachma Bina and Aveda. Chachma Bina Aveda means that the person should grasp and thereafter internalize the truth of the absolute reality of Hashem, Bechlal, or some inyan and elikus that he seeks to understand, and then there's the Nekuda, the Epiphany, and the Bina. We don't mean that. We don't mean Chachma and Bina in Aveda. When a person is engaged in internalizing through his mind the truth of godliness, or the absolute truth, or an aspect of the divine. We don't mean that. That is not always present, can be concealed. A person may not always be in a state of active meditation and contemplation and avodah in the understanding and the appreciation, the eternalizing of elikus, of godliness. We don't mean that. Ella, what are we talking about? Chachma Bina here, lepnimis Chachma Bina, that exists in essence within his neshama. It's there. Shemitzad etzam and neshama, that's there, present in the soul essence, relatively speaking. Shehi b'shleimus tamid, that's always there. This is all Tanya that everybody has. This nekudas hachachma, from where Mesiras Nefesh comes. What's nekudas hachachma? This recognition that you are the truth and everything is bottled to you. That's what chachma is. So that exists innately within every yid. That's what we're talking about. That's the avisein. This is what he goes on to say in the Maamer. Are we clear so far what I just said? Yeah. The chachma shebenefesh. What's chachma shebenefesh? As he explains in Tanya, you are bitlo amiti, the true recognition of the reality of Hashem, and that everything else is merely the consequence of His will. And it manifests, as he explains in Tanya, via ava rabba shebenefesh alikis. This great love that leads to Mesiras Nefesh is born from the innate recognition of that every Jew has, that Hashem is the emes. That's the innate chachma we speak about. He brings the Fidik Rebbe in the Maamer previous to this one. He brings from the Alter Rebbe in Tanya and Perek Yutes, right? In Perek Yutes begins a whole new track in Tanya. The first till Perek Yutes is an avodah, which is his bonus, tremendous his bonus required, and the Alter Rebbe says nobody shaykh to that in its and all of its practicality. But from Perek Yutes on, everybody shaykh to that, because in Perek Yutes, the avodah there is simply to embrace that Mesiras Nefesh, that nekudas hachachma that I have already. It's not about creating it. Till Perek Yutes, it's about creating, investing, creating, engaging. Here it's about revealing that which I have. So what does he say there? Right, we're all familiar. So he says there, Shebchinas Chachma, what is Chachma of the Neshama? Which every Jew has, because every Jew comes from Chachma Datzilus, and even higher. It's a surrender that is not based on rationale, instinctual. About which the pasuk says, Ner Havaya and Nishmas Adam, that the soul of man is the flame of God. The Moishe explains in Tanya, just like the light of the fire. So its nature is to separate, to tear itself away from the wick. And it seeks, it's tethered by the fuel, but it seeks to tear itself away and unite with its source above. Every flame is drawn to the element of fire, which is below this, the moon's cycle. Tachas Galkal Yerech, the moon's orbit. Whatever the pshat, there is begashmis, but it is a gashmistic thing. Even though if the flame will get what it desires, it would no longer illuminate as a flame. It would become absorbed within the source of fire. Nonetheless, that's its innate desire, which is counter all natural desire, which is survival and and expansion. Here, the neshama seeks not survival, but absolute unity with Hashem. Kach nishmas Adam chefza v'cheshka b'tiva, its desire and longing by its very nature is departed to separate, v'lotis min aguf, and to leave the body, v'lidavik b'shorshim v'koira, and to be attached in its source and its root and source. B'Hashem chai achaim baruch hu, and the Eibishter, the life of life, blessed be He. Hagam, even though there's a lashon Natanya, sheti ayin ve'efes, there in its source, it's no longer self-assertive or even self-aware. It'll become absolute nothing. If it is battle sham b'metzias legam, it become completely nullified. It doesn't say cease to exist, but nullified in sense of independence. It's such an ava that's not even aware that it has an ava. This is the chachma, the innate chachma, the innate desire that every Jew has in the essence of his soul. This is the great love for attachment, that comes from chachma, which chachma is the recognition of the absolute acknowledgement of the truth of the Eibishter, which then engenders this great love and longing to be united with Him. That's what chachma is, where in the nefesh that we speak of here, not the chachma of avodah, which comes through toil, learning, but the innate chachma. Sorry?
Just a quick, sorry to interrupt, quick question. So this is talking about how the neshama before it comes down here is egoless, and when it gets here, it develops this sense of ego, and while it's here, though, it kind of subconsciously still wants to return to that state of egolessness.
He didn't speak about the neshama l'mayla at all. He's talking about the neshama down here, because the neshama l'mayla, there's many levels, and there's levels of ego l'mayla. When we say l'mayla, there are levels. All neshamas are conceived, as it were, in chachma datzilis, and taka there, that bittul is manifest. But it's only tzaddikim gedolim. The rest of us, the neshamas l'mayla, then descend ne'el mabri, yitzir dasiyah, and where in malchus the malchus dasiyah. So even the neshama l'mayla, there's a healthy, godly ego, except for neshamas gedolim. But notwithstanding that, since we all come from chachma datzilis, but pnimius, we still carry at all of levels, even in the neshama, in the guf, this innate desire for attachment.
Even down here, even down here, there's
even down here. That's even down. It's not. That's the essence of the neshama, never lost, ever present, just concealed under many layers of self and consciousness, but ever present, and that's the innate desire. Every Jew is running around with, I've got to get somewhere. There's an appointment somewhere, but not quite sure with whom, what, and how. But everybody's like running. Where you go? It's really this. It's the restlessness of the neshama, of this nekudas hachachma that seeks attachment to Hashem. And then we get, and we thought we wanted to get, no, it's not here. So we keep on running, we're running and running from one experience, adventure, appointment, achievement to the other, hoping that this is what I've been looking for all my life. Until I find God, it's not. And that's why Jews are restless and revolutionaries and constantly seeking change on every level. Politically, everything. Economically, most non-Jews are happy to live in this, saying business even, a nice life for the white picket fence, and that's it. But a Jew, which is the world understanding, a Jew, money hungry, it's true. Nothing's ever enough in anything. That's because what drives everything, all of these false leads, really what's driving it all is the neshama's quest for complete oneness with the Eibishter. That's what's driving this restlessness and never enough and achievement and change. And
All right, thank you.
that's Chochmah. What about Bina? Do you have the same, is it the second last line for you? Okay, good. So what's Bina in its innate natural state? As again, opposed to Avodah. Avodah Chacham is you're learning, you're trying to understand, and then you struggle with an Inyan Chassidus, and you have an epiphany, then internalize it. We're not speaking that. We're speaking that which is present in every year. What's Bina? As he explains in the Maamer, this is understanding godliness. I don't know how the Maamer is going to explain this, but it's one thing to say that you all have this innate, longing, but innate understanding, yeah. There's the innate. This makes sense. Innate, not because he toiled to understand it. Because his soul is bound up essentially with God. That's what the neshama is. It's not only is there the chachma, the longing, there's this innate bina. It makes sense. Yiddishkeit, godliness makes sense innately before he's analyzed it all. Yeah. Once he's found it, yeah. The Maamer, I hope is going to explain this for us, but this is what he said now. Okay, this is as far as I've looked at the Maamer. Let's learn together now. The matter is as follows, and that's my chsor. I'm supposed to prepare everything before, but it didn't happen yesterday. So what's the inyan here of this natural, instinctual chacham bin? He just identified, not explained. Maamer explains in the Maamer, the source of neshamas are in the very inner and essence of Hashem. Everything else that exists over and under the sun, malachim, everything, ishtalshalos, everything is a creation of God to one degree or another, a creation, not neshamas. Neshamas aren't creations, neshamas are rooted in the very essence of Hashem. Like it says, we are children in the same way that a child comes from the very deepest part of the Father. He explains in Tanya, Perek Beis. So since that's the essence of the neshama, is verily a part of the Eibishter, in the essence of his soul, he's always connected, because that's what he is. The essence of the Eibishter, that connection remains forever. It can't be lost, because that is what the neshama is. The part of Moishe is rooted in Atzmos. The creation can lose its way. The neshama can't lose its way ultimately, because it's not separate. Or Maamer, clear? Maamer, like we say in the shyness of the third day of Sukkot, chavuka udvuka bach, chavuka, it's embraced, udvuka, and attached bach in you. The etzem and the neshama utomit chavuk v'dovuk b'atzmos ein sof. The essence of the neshama is always in the embrace and attached to the essence of the infinite one, blessed be He. But on this, the pasuk says in Shir Hashirim, Simani kechosim al libcha, place me like a seal on your heart. Kechosim al zerayacha, like a seal on your arm. A seal meaning integral to you. She says, Neshama Yisrael saying to the Eibishter. It's really expressing the fact, not so much a request. Maybe you have placed me. It's more a request, but it's reflecting the reality. Now, a seal is integral to that which is sealed in. It says in Zoyar, the way of a seal is given this davik ba'asar. Once it's attached to one place, the seal has been made. The impression has been made. Afagav this adimina, even though it moves from it. A rishimu remains in that place where the seal was originally. And that impression, the seal that made the impression, is moved on. But the impression doesn't move on. Oh, thankfully, translates. The way of a seal is when it's attached to one place, and even though with later it separates, a trace, the trace, the impression remains, not a trace, the impression. You say to Mizum, moreover, not merely the impression in one place, elo, rather the kol rishimu v'chol diukna delay beishtayir. It's not just a part of it, but the entire diukna means image. The whole image of the original seal remains. The impression of the seal, which has a shape, is there impressioned in the wax or whatever it is that the seal is being impressed. Clear? Not just a part of the seal in one remains, but all that the seal is, its entire impression remains in the, after removing it, in that which has been impressioned in. So the point is, Kach Omer Knesset Yisrael. So you didn't say to the Eibishter, this is the Zohar explaining this pasuk in Shir Hashirim, place me in your heart like a seal. So what? And the Neshama Yisrael saying to the Eibishter, we're attached to you. Afal Gav, even though this Adiminoch, even though we have left you, v'ozol b'golusa, we've gone in Golus. Our form remains attached to you. The pnimius is still one with you. And since our pnimius is one with you, your image remains forever impressioned in me, even though I am b'chitzonius in Golus, in exile. We're separated externally. How beautiful is this? So what the Zohar is expressing is the point that we're saying, that the essence of the neshama is kashas t'midi b'atzma seir insof. The essence is forever one with the Eibishter. And now this is the meaning of the pasuk. Aviseinu, Hashem should be with us like He was with our forefathers. And our forefathers, explains, is the pnimis of Chachma and Bina, the koyal Chachma Bina shebenefesh, shezeu habitla amiti, and that's the true connection of Ava Rabba, and the great love shemitzad and nefesh, that the essence of the soul has to be one with Hashem. That's the Chachma. And this natural understanding we get you. A Yid gets the Eibishter naturally, Bina. Mitzad Yiskashis, Etzman Nefesh, Ba'atmas Eirin Sof. So that is Aviseinu. So to explain the request, be with us as we have this connection to you, be'etzim and be'pnimius. Okay, that's it. Goes, let's say it's Gimel, that's that's in the Neshama. The problem starts in our consciousness, Neshama's beguf. Okay, we've got a few minutes. We're going to get back, God willing, to our story.